The assignment I'm going to do is for a forensic science class, grades 10 and 11. And the aim is what skills are necessary for a forensic scientist to investigate a crime. The do now, we're going to have a memory challenge. It's fun for the kids. They don't really have to write anything down. They just have to think and basically look at the board or the picture I pass around. So they're trying to memorize as many objects on the board as they can, and do not write anything down. So just make sure they're not writing anything down. So I'll either pass this around, this picture, or I'll project it on the smart board for all the kids. So I'm gonna just leave it up here for now. And after I say this, I'm gonna give them a minute. It's gonna be timed for them to look at this picture and try to memorize as many out of the 20 items as they can. So I'll be timing them a minute. I'll be circling around the room and going around. Again, making sure that no one's writing anything down and that they're focused on the work. So I'll give them about another 20, 30 seconds to do that. And depending on, the students, all students are different. You could project this on the board. If you have extra time in class, you could actually get these materials, maybe have them in the front of the classroom for the students to touch and feel. Or if you have a lot of students and you don't feel like doing that or getting the materials, you could always, again, project it on the smart board or pass the questions around. Okay, so now that the minute's over, what I'm going to have them do is I'm going to have them write down as many things as they can or objects as they can. I'll give them about 2 minutes to do that. And then what I'm going to have them do is I'm going to re-project this picture on the board so they could check their work. As they're checking their work, again, I'm going to be going around the room. And what I'm going to have students do is they're going to tally how many of those objects they got correct. So if you got 8 out of 20 correct, write 8, circle it nice and big on your paper, and you'll be done with that. So again, I have a PowerPoint for all this, but I don't have a smart board in my house. So I'm going to tally the kids and see how they did. If they got all 20 right, they did an awesome job. 5 to 19, they did very good. 10 to 14, they did okay. They could have done a little better if they got 5 to 9. And I'll be encouraging them, this is the first class. You're going to get a lot better. Don't worry. And for less, you shouldn't sleep in my forensics class. But again, I'll be helping them. I don't want any students to feel bad that they only got maybe 1 or 2. So again, this is the first lesson that we're doing, and you'll do a lot better as we go along. So right now is the mini lesson. I'm going to give them some examples, and they're going to go in the room, and they could even demonstrate. Again, you could do this any way you want. If you don't have that much time, you could just show them and demonstrate the different ways. So if you're working alone, there's 2 different ways that you could search rooms. There's the inward spiral, and there's the outward spiral. So the inward spiral, you work from the inner room out, and the outward spiral is the opposite. What you could do with your class is you could have them all stand up and maybe walk do an outer circle, an outer spiral, inner spiral, and you could help them demonstrate that. So if they're working in a group of people, say they have 4 people in the group, they could do a parallel. So those 4 people would stand on one side and slowly walk to the other side of the room, jotting down things that they see, taking pictures. Or you could do a grid, which is a little more thorough. You could go one side and then have those other people go to the other side. Again, you could have your students demonstrate that. Or if you're short on time, you could maybe have these students draw a picture on the board. There's a lot of different ways you could do it. Lastly, if you're working in a very large group, You might have seen this on CSI. People do zone searches. So again, say we have 4 people in our group. One person would be in zone A or zone 1, zone B, zone C, or zone D. And wherever your zone is, that's what you would cover. So each person chooses a specific zone and you'll do that zone. Okay, a couple things for the students to remember. These are really important when you're dealing with forensic science and CSI type investigations. Is one, don't overlook anything. The simplest things such as a note, the time on the clock, maybe a book that someone's reading, what someone's drinking, if their coffee's still hot, cold, whatever it is, that's important, so don't look over anything. Observe places and objects, and look at the times and dates on everything, because those could usually tell a story, almost as if you're reading a book. Okay, so this is going to be, we had the pre-assessment, we had a little mini lesson, and now we're going to have the post-assessment. So this is going to take all their observation skills into effect a little bit more. And how I did this in my class is I set up a little crime scene, and the crime scene was like that. I had a specific time on the board, some notes, there was a dummy, this is a picture of like a real person, and all these little things. And what I had the students do was they had 2 minutes to go around to observe different things, so forth and so on. So they would have 2 minutes. You could either project this on the board or set a little crime scene up in the classroom if you don't have that many students and have some more time. And what you're going to be telling them is to be as observant as possible, because I'm going to ask them 10 questions. They won't know what those 10 questions were until after the whole class. So that'll be projected, and then I'll have these questions on the board. Of course, the answers won't be circled, but I'm going to have these posted right on the board nice and big, and have volunteers come up to the board. They would click it, and what I did in this PowerPoint is whatever they click, it goes up and circles the answers so they could see if they're right or wrong and base their things on that. You could either do that like that, or you could also have this as an exit slip, the 10 questions, collect it, and then in the next day, you could recap the whole lesson, and it could be a good transition into the next lesson. So there's a lot of different ways you can modify this, depending on your focus learner or who your learners are, the students with the IEPs and such in the classroom. So it's really up to you, up to what you're comfortable with, your teaching style, your students' learning style, and all of that. Thank you and take care.